We brought about change. We were euphoric. But has there been much change 2 years since that day? But instead, we are becoming more divided along racial lines. Right after March 8th, UMNO embarked on its campaign to strike fear into the Malays and to warn them that they were under threat. The government came to assume a schizophrenic personality. The Prime Minister talks about one Malaysia, while his deputy says things that are completely contradictory. The government talks about multiracial unity, while UMNO talks about Malay unity. I hope Pakatan Rakyat would turn out to be a formidable force, united and effective, providing a strong opposition in Parliament. But look at the state it's in today. The number of elected representatives who have quit PKR is distressing. And Pakatan can't blame the mainstream media for this. Neither can Pakatan blame anyone for its ability to produce frauds. Anwar Ibrahim promised us defections from Barisan to Pakatan on September 16, 2008. But it never happened. Now it's happening, but the defectors are from Pakatan. In any case, Anwar's attempt to take over the government on September 16 was misguided and merely exposed his true ambition to be Prime Minister above all else. There's talk that there are now at least 3 factions within UMNO, and Najib is not secure. We have seen the recent efforts to undermine his administration. The most worrying of the UMNO factions is the right-wing faction, and there is no underestimating their influence. Outside of UMNO, the right-wing movement is apparently gaining momentum, and the Allah issue is giving them the common cause. At present, the most prominent group is the Malay NGO Perkasa. It was formed only 1.5 years ago, but it seems to be gaining support fast. Factionalism is also splitting the NCA. And at the top of the NCA is a leader who has disgraced himself, first by not keeping his promise to step down, second by making his bitter enemy his friend, so he could stay on in power. But the talk going round is that that bitter enemy might soon take over from him. Something is rotten in Pakatan Rakyat as well. We see infighting among the elected representatives. We hear allegations of corruption in their ranks. We realize that many of them are in public service not to serve the public, but to serve their own interests. Accusations of the chief minister behaving like a dictator, dispute over the sale of beer in Selangor, criticism of the Menteri Besar for buying over the debts of a company, threat by DAP to pull out of the Kedah state government because of a pig slaughterhouse. Now its MPs are abandoning ship. All these negative developments threaten to erode our faith in Pakatan. Do they have their act together or not? Do they have people of caliber? Can they form a viable government? On top of that, we have to ask, what good things have the Pakatan state governments done for the public so far? Some say there's more transparency in the Selangor government, and Penang is implementing the open tender system for government projects. But Pakatan is losing out in public relations. How many people get to know about the good things Pakatan is doing? The ACA was reformed to become the MACC to battle corruption more effectively. Look at what it's doing these days. Mostly picking on opposition politicians to bring them to shame. Almost every opposition leader worth his salt is being investigated by the MACC. If you're not being investigated, you haven't arrived. Perkasa and the rest of the newly formed Majlis Perunding NGO Melayu will campaign against Najib's new economic model, which is supposed to be unveiled soon, if they find it doesn't protect Malay interests. This leads us to the issue of racial integration. And of course, Najib's One Malaysia concept. I'm not apologizing for the non-halal reference. I leave that sort of apologizing to the start. When Najib says one thing and his deputy Muhyiddin Yassin says the direct opposite, the very day Najib publicly unveiled the One Malaysia logo, Muhyiddin said UMNO would fight to the last drop of blood to protect Malay rights. He also said that the BTN courses are uniting Malaysians in line with the One Malaysia concept. How? Pray tell. Najib released numerous ISA detainees, among them the Hindraf leaders. My friend tells me to be charitable and give credit where credit is due. After all, he did release the detainees, my friend said. But again, wasn't that done with the next GE in mind? To appease the Indians, win back the Indian vote? Important issue, the ISA itself. What is being done about that? And what about the UUCA, which denies university students participation in not just political activities, but also social activities that are not approved by the VC? Is there anything positive that has emerged from March 8th? Fundamentally, I think Malaysians are becoming more courageous. More and more are speaking up, of all races. Fewer and fewer are kowtowing to the people in high places. We are struggling to shake off the culture of fear, and I think we are succeeding. Look at the turnout at candlelight vigils and protest marches. When we were protesting against the ISA detention of Tan Hoon Cheng, Raja Petra and Teresa Kok, I was amazed to see people I never expected would show up at such gatherings. 3 years ago, such people would not have dared come near such activities. A very dear friend of mine thought many times, consulted with his wife, consulted with me, experienced cardiac palpitations when he was about to post his very first comment on a blog. Now that blog incidentally was Haris Ibrahim's The People's Parliament. He was joining me in an anti-ISA protest march right in the city centre. And of course he's been posting in a lot of blogs ever since. We need to get in a fresh government because the old one has become too entrenched in its ways. They know the system too well to use it to their corrupt advantage. What's more, we need to undo the damage that has been inflicted on our country by the man who outshines Avatar. We need a massive spring cleaning. The next GE will be crucial. It will determine whether we'll get more of the same old, or whether we will get real change. Whether we will continue to be a nation divided along racial lines, or be hopeful of being a truly Malaysian nation. If we are to keep the March 8th spirit alive and make irreversible the trend to take Malaysia out of the dark ages, we have to do our part. I hope those of you who have not yet registered as voters will do so as soon as possible. So when the next general election comes around, it might be appropriate to recall the words of Franklin Roosevelt. The only thing we have to fear is fear itself. Choice is what we have now. That has been the gift of March 8th. We should exercise that choice for the betterment of our country and exercise it without fear.